Be proud sponsor of both club and county, did bring Harry Redknapp to Dublin yesterday afternoon to launch their new series, The Toughest Rivalry. This is going to be great. This series stars Redknapp and Gianluca Vialli, the Chelsea, Juventus and Italian legend, as AIB expose both Premier League powerhouses to life in the GAA as they take charge of two rival clubs. So Vialli was with Erin's Isle in Dublin and Redknapp was with Castlehaven in West Cork, because those two teams were in the 1998 All-Ireland Club semi-final. Castlehaven were beaten by a last-minute goal, a questionable goal by all accounts. They're still talking about it in Castlehaven. The controversial ending apparently left both teams with unfinished business, which now both Vialli and Redknapp are going to have the opportunity to fix. So this series is going to culminate in an epic rematch set to take place at the end of the summer, with both Vialli and Redknapp managing their teams and using their managerial expertise to improve and make a difference to their teams. The first episode of The Toughest Rivalry airs on Friday the 13th of July. Eoin sat down with Harry yesterday before England's World Cup semi-final. Enjoy.
All right, Harry, welcome to Ireland. Welcome to Gaelic Games, I guess, is the most appropriate introduction I can give. How did you find it down in Castlehaven? How have you found it so far?
Yeah, I loved it. It was a fantastic experience for me. I mean, I went there with very little idea about what the game was about, to be honest with you. And that's, in the short time I was there, I fell in love with it. I thought it was an amazing game, and I can see why it's got such a big following. It's got everything, it's got plenty of skill. It's got aggression. It's a tough game, and it's such an exciting game. It took me a while I couldn't understand at first why people didn't try to score more and beat the goalkeeper. I'm thinking, well, it's 3 points. Why? But then obviously as I went on, you understood that at certain times of a game you've got to go for the 3 points, and other times you've got to take the point when it's there. And so yeah, the whole thing I thought was excellent. Really enjoyed it.
Was there any transferable skills from a coaching point of view that you thought straight away, I've got the hang of this?
Well, there was, I mean, the technique in the game, the way they volley the ball, they're kicking. You've got to be a great kicker of the ball. Obviously, they kicking the ball 30, 40 yards into someone's hands is a great skill in itself. And, when they're shooting at goal, the volleying technique and the way they hit the ball. There's lots of comparisons with soccer, really.
And essentially, it is sport. It is kind of a centrepiece of a community, which I'm sure we kind of like to preach about quite a bit when it comes to Gaelic Games. But it's the same with football back in England. It is the centrepiece of many a community that you've been involved in.
It is, but it's different. That your lads here, they're from the community. They're part of that community. They got a feeling for that team. That is where they are. That is their lifeblood of the community. I think our game's different now. We've got people that come from everywhere. They come and play and go, and they'll spend 18 months, 2 years there, kiss the badge, and then they're off to go and play somewhere else. Whereas, there's the Gaelic football and the community thing there I found in Castlehaven was completely different. They're there, and it's there. When they're playing a game, it's like it's their territory. Someone's coming trying to beat them on their territory, and they, everybody's involved in the club. Everybody, the man who runs the shop, I went in there to buy a paper, and he's part of the lady in the pub. She runs the girls' side of the ladies' side of the Gaelic football. Everybody there seemed to be part of that was the lifeblood of the community.
Yeah, there's a certain purity to it, I guess, and one of the big debates we're having at the moment is when it comes to inter-county Gaelic football and hurling, the elitism that's creeping into the game, that potentially one day Gaelic football and hurling could turn professional, and I guess for reasons that you've outlined there, but very different ones. You wouldn't have the international level. The purity of the game could go out of it, and I guess from what you've seen, it would be a shame to lose that purity, to lose that sense of community.
Yeah, that would be a shame, but I suppose the only thing is you're still going to have, I don't see, probably better, would know better than me, but you're still only going to have the Irish boys playing it, or the Irish girls or whatever playing the games. You're not going to suddenly have people coming from all over the world playing the game. You're not going to have transfers from Italy or somewhere. They wouldn't know what Gaelic football was, would they?
Yeah. So
it's still going to have that. I'm sure it still have the same feel to it here. It would be different. Whereas, it was like that when I started in soccer. When I left school and went to West Ham, everybody at West Ham, every player came from within a 5 or 6 mile radius of the football ground. We didn't buy players. Everyone came from the youth team. That was our team. We all joined the club at 15, 14, 15, left school and played, and that was how it was. And then suddenly it's all opened up. Obviously, you've got players from all over the world. They come and go. I don't think you'll ever recapture the feel it had years ago when everybody was homegrown, and that was their team. And I think Gaelic football's the same.
There's one of your coaching attributes I wanted to chat to you about, and it's man management. And a couple of those Castlehaven players are involved with the Cork team at the moment who are doing quite poorly. They're underachieving. I don't think they'll disagree with that themselves, because they've got a very talented bunch of people. They won the All-Ireland only 8 years ago, and they're way down in the doldrums at the moment. And just thinking about chatting to you today, it's not a whole pile different from how Spurs were when you arrived, and down near the bottom of the table, you didn't have a transfer market immediately. So you changed the dressing room, you got inside the heads of the players, and it was a good display of man management. Can you talk to us a little bit about that, about how you can completely lift the dressing room just for what you say, rather than bringing in and spending £20 million on a striker?
I think when you walk into a dressing room, you've got to give the place a lift, haven't you? You've got to tell people, you've got to get into the heads of every individual and tell them that they are good players. If I walk in and says, "Oh, you're rubbish," this ain't, you're not good enough, or you've got to go in and make them believe. And it's all about confidence. I mean, everything in life is about confidence, isn't it? If you're confident doing whatever job you do, you've got a chance of doing it well. If you're not confident and you're worried about it, and it's like stand up speaking in public or whatever. Unless you're confident, you're going to struggle. And football's no different. I think you'll get far more out of people. Then I went there with Gareth Bale, and I said, Gareth, you'll murder this team today. They're scared stiff of you. The right back's in their dressing room. And can you imagine what, he's probably shaking in his boots in there, waiting to play against you today. Go out and murder him, run him ragged. And I think you'll get more out of people by telling them what they can do and what they can't do, and that's always been my philosophy.
Has that gone out of the game a little bit, in your opinion, that there's more of a focus on the tangible things in football, like data and statistics, rather than the actual man-to-man conversations you can have, which can make huge improvements? Yeah,
I think, but you can have all the stats in the world, but it comes down really at the end of the day. It's like we were talking about corners the other day. England's dead set plays are great. Harry Maguire, sorry, yeah. Harry Maguire, I nearly said Harry McNally. He was a manager of Wigan years ago. Harry Maguire, he made an average ball into a great ball. There was nothing magic about the ball that was in there. It was put in by their defenders is getting ready. He's come across him from nowhere, and his determination to head the ball, and he's got on the end of it and powered it in the back of the net. It's and that's what the game's never changed. You can look at all the stats in the world, everything you want to look at, but it's about how people actually perform when they get on the pitch. And you can give them all the information, but it's doing it out there under pressure when you've got to do it.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess on that point as well, when you look at some of the appointments that have been made in the Premier League over the last year, one thing that really strikes me is the reaction to, say, Roy Hodgson when he was appointed as Crystal Palace manager, that there was newspapers running stories like this guy could be the great-great-great-grandfather of Wilfred Zaha, and there seemed to be a certain ageist nature about the way they were talking about Roy Hodgson, that I do wonder sometimes that unless you're kind of young and trendy and have statistics on your side, how do you get back into the Premier League these days without a massive reputation?
But how do any British manager get into the Premier League nowadays? The only way you get into the Premier League if you're a British manager is to get promoted.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's very difficult. Every club now, when they make an appointment, they go foreign. Even outside the top six, they're all foreign. Outside the top six, Everton, whoever, they're all bringing in foreign managers. The only way you'll get up there is if you can take the team. Who would have ever heard of Eddie Howe at Bournemouth? He would never have. He'd have just wasted away down there if he hadn't got promoted with Bournemouth. And suddenly he's in the Premier League. Now everybody knows him and they talk of him being a future England manager. But if he hadn't have got a team Bournemouth promoted, he'd have just wasted away in the Division 1 or whatever. Sean Dyche the same at Burnley. He'd have never got a chance to manage in the Premier League, Sean. He had to bring Burnley up. Tony Pulis he was here then everywhere. Tony Pulis, he was at Bournemouth, Gillingham, Bristol Rovers, Bristol City. He managed everywhere. And eventually gets promoted with Stoke and then establishes himself as an outstanding Premier League manager for 10 years. But no one would ever give him a job. The only way you get a Premier League club, the only way you get them chances now, it seems, unless you're very lucky, is to get promoted with a club.
Well, why is that?
Because I don't know, they seem to think it's sexier to give a job to a foreign manager, whatever reason, I don't know. It don't make sense to me, but there's some great managers in the lower divisions in this country. Lads who do the coaching, they work hard every week. You know, they're out there on the training pitches, they know the game, they travel the country watching games, but when it comes to getting a decent job, they never get the chance.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of the point I was trying to make with Roy Hodgson as well, that potentially that was some of the coverage around him was negative for that reason.
Yeah, well, probably because he'd had such a bad World Cup that, you know, everyone was against him, but he got the job, and look what a great job he did.
From getting back on the pitch with Castlehaven and all that over the last couple of weeks, what's next for you after you're finished with your stint in Cork? Is club management back on the horizon?
No, listen, if something came along that was interesting, I probably wouldn't say no. I'm a sucker for punishment. But I don't know whether that will happen. You know, I wouldn't sit here holding me, you know, thinking, oh, I've got to get another job. If I don't, I don't. If I do, I'm busy every day. Every day I'm doing something. You know, I'm always somewhere doing something. And so, you know...
what takes up most of your time these days?
I've got lots of stuff outside of football. I've got to build. I've got a development company, and I build lots of houses and flats down where I live. I've got a racing stables that I own. That keeps me busy. Going there, I'd go and watch the horses on the gallops in the morning. Just bought a nice horse in Ireland a few weeks ago, from Ireland.
What's the horse's name? Are you allowed to reveal that information?
No, I've not named it yet. Actually, I bought it from a man in Northern Ireland. Yeah, hopefully he breeds good horses, and I bought. He's out of Flemingsfirth, the horse, well-bred horse. Paid a lot of money for it, and I hope he's never even run a point to point. So it's a national hunt horse, and I hope we're going to have a Cheltenham horse on our hands in the future.
Are you a Cheltenham goer every year?
Not every year now. No, I used to go. I used to love to go, but it gets too busy for me now. I find it very busy. But I've been lucky in the past. I've sort of gone into a box here with all the proper people, with JP and all the, you know, and all the Irish boys and John Magdia and all the lads who'll go, you know, JP McManus, Michael Tabor, Derek Smith. They normally used to invite me, and I used to love going there. But it gets very busy in this, yeah.
Good stuff. Well, you'll have to let us know the name of the horse eventually.
I will eventually. Yeah, it'd probably be. I've bought a few dud horses over the years, and it could be another one. I hope Mr. Dennison hasn't sold me a dud. Just
one last one. The last time I was watching you on television was only a couple of weeks ago. I think it was one of the more unusual television experiences I've ever had. It was the moment with Danny Dyer on with Piers Morgan. You were in studio that day as well. And in my opinion, that was an interesting moment for the UK as a whole when they looked at that and they saw what Danny Dyer had to say about Brexit. And they were like, hold on a minute, here's somebody who's not sitting in Parliament, who I actually have an interest in listening to about what's going on in my country. And it feels that could be the first step towards a more vocal sporting cohort around Brexit in the United Kingdom, much like they have in the United States, where athletes are outspoken about these sort of things. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm reading too much into this, maybe there isn't kind of a future for this, maybe footballers aren't interested in this sort of stuff.
No, I don't think many of them are interested in that sort of stuff. I think their main interest is how much is in their contract. Mm-hmm. I think you'll find most footballers, if it affects what they're going to earn every week, they'd be very interested. If suddenly they went, tax is going to go up to 90% again or whatever, they'd be, because I think that's when you find they take an interest in it. But other than that, I think I'm not saying all footballers, but I think in the main, like most sportsmen, I think unless it affects them personally, I don't think they're in their own little bubble at the moment. They're earning so much money.
What's your own view on what's happening over in the UK at the moment?
I don't know how it's all going to go. Really, I've got really strong views, but I wouldn't want to air them in public. To be fair with you, I've got my own views about lots of things that happen in politics.